Hello, and welcome back to A Year Gardening. Well, the bamboo has really started to take off at the moment, really going high. But wherever you cut a bamboo, it won't grow any higher. The new shoots grow through, but the old ones, if you cut them off, that's its maximum height. And so I'm going to be going through this little hedgerow here, clearing this before I trim it back and tidy it up. Now, in today's little show, I've got a few things to take through with you. I'm going to be painting the shading on the greenhouse, doing some planting, doing some trimming, doing some tidying. Lots and lots of things to go through, and so I really hope that you can stay with us and enjoy today's show. Please remember to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really does mean a lot to me, and thank you to everyone that's done that over the last month or so. We're now up to well over 300 subscribers, so thank you very much indeed. So without any further ado, let's crack on with July 2023 in A Year Gardening. Well, welcome to the greenhouse, and it's time for me to start putting my tomato plants into the ground. Now, before I put them in, I like to build my framework for them to climb up, and I'm using my trusted canes for that. So I'm just going to put one around about 300mm in from the edge in the centre here. That'll give that a nice support there. Still a little bit of string on here from last year. And then I will run more along the middle here. And this is going to give me my main support. So I'm going to just take some string, which I'm going to tie these together with. Just break a little bit off here. Tie some round the top on here. This is going to give me my initial support for the framework that the tomatoes will climb up. Just a little knot on the side. And then I'm going to tie it off at the far end here onto the aluminium of the greenhouse. Stop it blowing around. Get a nice little knot on here. And then tie that down onto the frame. Well, there we have the frame. And this is going to take the strings that I run off the bottom of my plants. So now it's time to start putting the plants in with those strings. So first of all, I'm going to make a little hole in here, ready to take the first of my plants. And then we're going to just, first of all, put a little bit of water in there, just to hold some of this together, so I know what I'm doing. And that is going to be a nice little welcome for these plants. And also in the bottom of each hole, I'm just going to put a little bit of a rooting growth fertiliser, which will help the plants to grow. And then we're going to take our string and we're going to run that from the top. Just tie that nicely onto the top. Down to the hole. Give ourselves a bit of spare. Pop our plant out of the pot. And we've got some lovely roots on there. And all we're going to do is bring that down around here into the hole. And then we're going to fill that in nicely around here. And as the roots grow and it holds that down, the plant can then be trained up here. And we'll water that one in. Well, June's been quite a busy month. And one of the things I've done is replace this fence panel here. The old one was broken and decaying, and you can actually just poke your finger through it. So fortunately, one of these pre-made panels is exactly the right size, so I was able to take the old one out, pop this one in, and I'm sure you agree with me, it looks quite a nice job. The existing fence posts were okay, so I didn't have to replace those, which was a blessing. But yeah, all very good, and so we're cracking on. But now we're going to be faced with a little problem, because our friends in the southeast here have decided that we're now going to be limited for our water usage. So no more hose pipes, although most of my water does come from water butts. But because we've had a very, very dry June, I have been using the tap outside for filling up the watering can, but I'm going to do that more sparsely now, but just enough to keep the plants watered and alive, and hopefully it's not going to be as bad as it was last year. But that's that bit. Let's just move on. Well, this area here is interfering with the view of my CCTV, but I don't want to damage the grapevine over here, so I've got to be careful cutting this one back. But it needs tidying and shaping, so let's do that bit now. Well, what a great investment that tool is. Now it's time to get the strimmer out and start tidying around the edges of the grass. The oxeye daisies have been absolutely superb. They are just taking over a little bit, so we're going to tidy through those as well. When I started to put this video together, my wife said, "You're just going to use this as an excuse to show off all of your toys." Well, I probably am, because the right tools doing the right job is a good thing to show off. And the strimmer here, how many of you have had a little strimmer that you plug into your electric with 500 miles of cable, and the first thing that happens is the wire snaps on it, and then you spend the next 20 minutes trying to put it all together? then it snaps on you again. So the right tool for the right job. As you can see, the oxide daisies have come over here. I've got some wildness and I just need to get back and clean that up. I've got a good quality strimmer, so I'm going to do that now. Well, this was our winter flowers and we're going to be lifting these out. I'm not going to be losing these, I'm going to be lifting and reusing these in some baskets and some pots at the front. A few weeds which we'll just get rid of. But also with these pansies we can take some cuttings of these as well. And this is a prime example of one where I'm going to get some nice cuttings off of that. But all these weeds we're going to clear out, and then we're going to lift just some of this compost out of here, tidy this up a little bit, refresh the compost on the top before we plant up a new display for the summer. Well, I've refreshed the compost, given it a little bit of a water. Now it's all ready for planting up with my summer petunias. You may remember I showed you a couple of months ago I was growing some petunias in the greenhouse. They've been potted on now and they're growing up quite nicely, and they're going to come in here and give me some colour. So I'm just going to make some little holes in here. Now I have already mixed in a feed with this compost, so they should be nice and lovely. Got a lovely amount of root coming on these. I'm just going to put these in around the edge, firm them around, and I'm going to try and alternate the colours to give me a nice display. They will spread a little bit, so I'm going to put them about 3 to 4 inches apart. There's another one here, and there. Just going to pop them into the ground. Oh, pulled that one sideways, so let's pop that in nicely. And fill these in all the way around the edge. Give them a good water. Just a little bit of deadheading where necessary. These have been in the cold frame now for 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm sure they're going to give me a lovely display here. And then once I've got them in, I'll rearrange the lights here from the solar light. It's a lovely one there. And I'll carry on planting these round. Show you what they look like in a minute. Well, these will fill out over the next couple of weeks. And as long as we keep them dead-headed, they're going to give us plenty of colour throughout the next summer months. Going to look really lovely here. Just got a few bedding plants to put into the troughs now, so I'll show you that. Well, it's got very warm over the last couple of days, temperature up into the 30s. Not ideal for planting things out, but the plants that I've been growing in their little individual pots are starting to struggle to hold the moisture. You can see there's a lot of root in here, so hopefully they're going to be okay to transplant now. weather stays like this, I'm not going to plant the Philadelphus until I can actually get some moisture in the ground and make the ground suitable to plant that. So I'll probably just leave that for this week and see what we can do next week. But these little salvias, bit of summer bedding, they should be absolutely fine, and they'll be happier growing in here than they will in the little pots in the cold frame. So I'm just going to plant a few of them in here. So they've enjoyed it in the cold frame, but now they're just not getting enough moisture in there. So hopefully by putting them in here, I can give them a more complete drink. And so I'll plant all of these into this little trough here, and then I'll put something else to trail along the front. I think I've got some lobelia growing in the greenhouse, so we might have that growing along the front as well. Give ourselves a little bit of colour. Then once I've got this planted and watered, I'm going to put up our pop-up gazebo over the top here, give them a little bit of shade and protection from this direct sunlight. Well, very quickly, I'm going to take advantage of the little bit of rain that we've had over the last day or so and get this Philadelphus into the ground. It's starting to dry out a little bit where it's had to be out in this rather hot sun. So if we can get it in the ground's wet, the pot's been watered, so time just to pop it in the ground. And I'm just going to take it out of the pot, have a little look and see. Now, you remember when I planted this, we've got loads and loads of root on there, and I made this hole just the right size there to sit that inside. A couple of little weeds at the bottom, we just pull those out, and I'm just going to get some soil and put in around that, and that's going to be really, really happy. Obviously then we're going to give it a really good water afterwards. Well, that's nicely in the ground now, and we're just going to give it a nice good drink. There's a lot of water in the bottom of the hole already, and it's been soaking for a while, so just a nice drink now. A lot of this water just running off the surface. Even though we've had rain, it's amazing how dry this surface is. Well, you may remember last month I planted these seeds. Well, not these ones actually, but one exactly the same, into the side of the stream to see how this new method of planting seeds with the seeds impregnated into a piece of paper actually worked. So they've started to grow, and I'll show you those now. Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me that these are looking nice and healthy. They're growing very, very well indeed. Lovely mix of pollinators here, so we're going to have plenty of lovely, lovely flowers for the bees and the hoverflies and everything to come and enjoy. So as this has been successful, the one I just showed you, I'm going to be planting that in the front garden near where I've just planted that lovely mock orange, the Philadelphus. So hey, we'll see how long it takes those to germinate. Well, hello and welcome to summer. Now, at this time of year, the sun is really burning down on our greenhouses, our glass houses, and we need to protect the plants inside. I use a product which you paint onto the glass. You don't wash the glass before you do it, but you do clear out the dust and things off of it. So I've just wiped this down. I've got my little pot here, and basically you just paint this onto the glass, and this is a greenhouse shading, and this will protect my plants inside from getting burnt, and they're already starting to get burnt, which is not great. So we'll just paint this on. It doesn't have to look pretty or wonderful, but that will do the job. We're going to get this all the way down here, and it dries opaque, so we get a nice protection from the sun on our delicate plants inside. Now, I'm only doing this side of the greenhouse because the sun rises to my left and sets to my left, and it passes across the sky. So we're just going to just cover this in, and as the sun dries this out, it's going to leave a lovely opalescent finish to the glass. It's weatherproof and it will just wash off at the end of the season when we clean the greenhouse down. So there's that little bit there. We'll do a little bit over the top as well, just to start covering in this glass over the top where my poor tomatoes are sitting underneath. And it's such an easy product to use. You just got to paint it on, so no problem there. And it doesn't even have to be as good as your front room, does it? Because all you're doing is you're just protecting the glass and the plants within. So I'm going to carry on painting the whole of this side of the greenhouse, because as I say, this is the side that the sun comes in from. I'm not going to bother with the top panels here because that's the far side where I'm working, but I am going to run down this side here and give it all of that lovely protection that my tomatoes and cucumbers are going to need. Just bang it on the top there, let it start running down the window, and then just paint it off. And I mean, a bottle of this stuff is only around about £7 or £8, and to protect your plants for the year, that's well worth it. Well, that's taken about 20 minutes. That's painted on, that is dry, that is lovely. That's going to shade the plants, still allowing enough light through, but they're going to be protected from the burning. Keep those watered. We're going to have some great fruit this year. Now in that bottle, I've probably used a third of the bottle, and I know that's the only side I need to protect, so that's going to last me at least 2, maybe even 3 seasons. I think that's really good value for money, and looking forward to see how my plants grow. Well, I hope this little sort of compilation of stuff we've run during the month of June and a couple of new bits has pleased you, because I think it's worked out rather well myself. However, that's the end of today's little offering, and there's a few things that I did want to show you, but the weather has sort of calmed down a little bit from that baking hot to a little bit of mizzle today. So all well and good, but the shading on the greenhouse is doing a good job. The tomatoes are now up to waist height, as the cucumbers are as well, so things are looking very, very good in the greenhouse. I'm going to be planting over the next week or so some later carrots and transplanting my broccolis into the polytunnel, so I'll be sharing that with you as well. I've got a lot of work still to finish on that polytunnel. I've got the timber now for doing the doors, so that's something else I'll be sharing with you over the next few weeks as well. So I hope that this summer is going to be a little kinder to us than last year with all of that heat, but we're just coming to the end of what the weather people are saying is the hottest June on record, or potentially the hottest June on record. So we'll just have to wait and see how things go. I've got some nice fruit coming on the fruit trees, so fingers crossed we're going to have a little harvest off of those a year earlier than I expected. We've been eating strawberries this week and they've been absolutely beautiful. So I've got a little bit of tidying up to do with my lupins and a couple of weeds that have grown through, so I'll carry on doing that. No need to share that with you because it's just one of those little jobs we have to do in the garden. But anyway, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, keep well, be kind to each other, and happy gardening. And I'll leave you today with a rather nice glass of a Chateau bottled Bordeaux, and I must admit I have just sampled this to make sure it's okay, but it's a very nice drop of wine. Cheers.